Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video for today. So we're starting off the week with some pretty important news with regards to AMD and Nvidia being able to sell their chips into China. Well, of course, not all of the chips. For Nvidia, it's the H20s, and for AMD, it's the MI308. Now, fortunately, we did get a lot of news with regards to AMD being able to sell in China the MI308. How much time that's going to take? Is it going to have an immediate impact on Q3 after they do get their licenses? So we have already quite a lot of information. But during the weekend, there was some strange news that came out. By the way, before the market opens, AMD is down 3.2%, Nvidia is down also 1.5% or so. So why is that? Why are both of these companies down if they're suddenly able to sell their chips again in China? Quite strange, no? Well, it has a lot to do with this. Nvidia AMD to pay 15% of China chip sale revenues to the United States. So let's discuss all of this story in this video, the pros and the cons. Enjoy this type of videos, hit all the buttons, would really appreciate that. And especially hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos and especially the live streams. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. So let's start off here with this. So this came out and it said the following thing. Agreement applies to advanced AI chips like the Nvidia H20, the AMD MI308 as well. On Friday, a US official said that the Commerce Department had begun issuing licenses for the sale of the H20 chips to China. When asked if Nvidia had agreed to pay 15% of revenues to the United States, an Nvidia spokesperson said in a statement, "We follow rules the US government sets for our participation in worldwide markets." The spokesperson added, "While we haven't shipped H20 to China for months, we hope export control rules will let America compete in China and worldwide." By the way, this comment here is also important to note when Nvidia will report their next quarterly figures, which I believe will happen 2 weeks from now. So don't expect any revenue from China. Same as with AMD, but we do expect quite a lot of comments during the earnings call. AMD did not respond to a request for comment on the news, which was first reported by the Financial Times earlier on Sunday. The US Department of Commerce did not immediately respond to a request either. China's Foreign Ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment as well. Now, China represents a significant market for both companies. Nvidia generated $17 billion in revenue from China in fiscal year ending January 26, representing 13% of total sales. AMD, $6.2 billion generated in China in 24, accounting for 24% of total revenue. Now, the interesting thing here is, of course, it's good that these companies will be allowed to sell their chips in China again. We know it's a huge, huge market. We've known the impact of not selling in China, right? For AMD, for example. If we go back to their last quarterly figures, you see here gross margin 43%, should have been 54% if not for that one-time charge-off. And you can also see the impact definitely here in the data center side. It's up only 14% year over year, but 12% quarterly, right? As you can see right here, this is what happens when you cannot sell to a pretty big market. Of course, there's also the ramp up of the MI350. So yeah, I do expect that to accelerate in Q3. Actually, I do expect Q3 to be quite a good quarter, excluding China revenue. Why am I saying excluding China revenue? Because we don't know. We don't know if in Q3 they'll already recognize revenue from China, and I'll explain again why. So first up, if we go here and look at where AMD generates the majority of the revenue, it's still, of course, the United States, right? Last year, that was $8.6 billion. But China, last year, China was $6.2 billion. And that's 15% of $6.2 billion is $930 million that they'll have to pay to the United States. Now you might say, okay, this is just a ticket that you have to pay in order to sell into China. Okay, cool, right? China is a pretty big market. You pay 15%, big deal. I could maybe agree with that. But then again, this sets a very bad precedent, right? You basically tell a company, actually, you cannot sell in that country for national security reasons. Now it's actually you can sell into that country, but you'll have to pay us 15%. This is a very mafia-like, very mafia-like business strategy here. So of course it's great to see that AMD will be able to collect a couple of billions of dollars from China, but then again, giving 15% away, I don't know if there are some strings attached, positive things for AMD because they're paying that 15%. We don't know the details about all of it, but I did find it very strange, peculiar to say the least. As for Nvidia, for example, Nvidia over the last 12 months generated just over $20.1 billion from China. 15% of that is around $3 billion. $3 billion that they have to give to the US government, right? Okay, that money goes to the treasury. Maybe they'll pay down their debt. I don't know how much that will move the needle, but okay, that's that. Now we know from Nvidia as well that, I mean, they said China is a huge market worth billions and billions of dollars. So of course, for Nvidia and for AMD to be able to sell again into China is good news. But them being able to sell to China only because they agreed to pay that 15% is very strange. Now, the other thing here is that now Chinese companies, of course, there was a report that said that, oh, the H20s from Nvidia, it's also a security issue for China. It's like basically the reverse Uno card has been played in China, right? Accuse the others what you are accused of, or think, yeah, I mean, it's strange. It's strange, but okay. Strategy, tactic, negotiation tactics, whatever you want. I think that in China, there is already Huawei, which is, I wouldn't say on par with Nvidia's best products, but it's getting there. People that think that China is so far behind are not paying attention or are just blinded by the Chinese hate. To be honest, right? I think China, they're not stupid. I think they have some of the best engineers and scientists out there. I'm not the only one saying this. Jensen Huang has said this as well. Many other leaders in the industry have said it. So China now seeing that, oh, if we buy Nvidia and AMD chips, this means that we are subsidizing the US government. That could also be a red flag for them, right? Could be a red flag for them. Could also push them to say, oh, actually now, yeah, for national security reasons, we do not accept Nvidia and AMD chips anymore. Huge impact, right? Huge negative impact for companies like Nvidia and AMD, and big positive impact for the Chinese ecosystem, right? For the Chinese AI ecosystem, you might say, yeah, but without Nvidia's chips and AMD's chips, they won't survive. First of all, they already have. They already have quite a lot of American GPUs in China. Second of all, I can say that we've seen a lot of reports and image evidence as well that if they want chips, even if they're banned, they'll get them, right? If they want those GPUs, they'll get them one way or another. You might say through Singapore or through other areas. If you want something, you'll get it, right? You'll get it. And then I think this just makes a company like Huawei much stronger for the future as well. So we'll see what happens. But going back to AMD and the MI308 shipments, I've already seen some people say, oh, this is going to be huge for Q3. First of all, guidance for AMD excluded any potential impact from China revenue, right? So that $8.7 billion plus minus $300 million, that's excluding China revenue. So that's good. And I think that 8.7, they'll beat it. They'll beat it comfortably. So they said the following thing. Lisa Su stated it will take a couple of quarters to ramp up shipments once licenses are granted. This is because a significant portion of the inventory was work in process rather than finished goods. Therefore, while licenses may be approved, a quick return to the previous revenue run rate is not expected. She doesn't anticipate a lot of revenue from these shipments in Q3. Okay? Important to remember that once they are able, because first of all, these are reports, spokespersons are saying this and that. I'm yet to see an official statement from AMD, Nvidia, or even the White House. So let's see what happens over the next coming days. Now, That said, let's not forget all the other businesses, right, that AMD has. It's of course all of the attention goes to data center, but we've seen that gaming has suddenly performed very, very well for the quarter. They expect it to be flattish next quarter, so that's another $1.1 billion. Client is expected to grow as well. That's also a couple of billions of dollars there, and they also expect data center revenue to grow double digits, high double digits, mid double digits. We don't know. But to get to $8.7 billion, it wouldn't be too crazy. It wouldn't be too crazy to see $4 billion coming from data center revenue next quarter. Wouldn't be too crazy. I mean, if you calculate it, you'll get $4 billion from data center. You'll get a little bit more than the $2.5 billion from client revenue, another $1.1 billion from gaming. And then for embedded, they do say that we're going to have sequential growth. So let's say another $1 billion here from embedded, and you'll reach that $8.7 billion, give or take $300 million, right? I do think that they'll beat it. So data center could be even more than $4 billion, or the client revenue could be even more than what I anticipate. So yeah, all in all, it's good to see AMD and Nvidia being able to sell their chips again in China. But the way this has been done is very questionable, and the longer term impacts are still unknown, right? We don't know what that 15% tax or ticket or whatever you want to call it, penalty, is going to do to those companies being able to sell into China. Because it can very well be that this is going to basically push China into saying, you know what, actually, no, we do not want to subsidize the US government. Even though you buy chips from Nvidia and AMD, they make a profit, they pay a tax, that tax goes to the United States. So, okay, maybe the same, but not exactly, right? Not exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Margins will be impacted, of course, on those products, on the H20, on the MI308. Those are high margin products. Now there'll be less margin products unless AMD and Nvidia raise their prices in China. I highly doubt they'll do it, because those products are already under pressure, have already quite a lot of question marks around them. So increasing the prices of those, I don't think that's the plan right now. So they'll take a hit, right? So they'll take a hit. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens over the next coming days. If anything pops up, we'll of course cover it during the live stream. So that's about it for me in this video. Do join us during the live stream later today. If you have any comments, questions, or maybe things that I've missed, let me know down in the comment section below. We'll try and cover it in the live stream. See you all in the next one. Bye-bye.